Daughter of a millionaire was swapped at birth. Years later, the little girl appears and all changes. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel and type Amen in the comments. A beautiful piece of good news may come your way very soon. And don't forget to tell us where you're watching from. The champagne bubbles sparkled like diamonds in the crystal glasses as 40-year-old William Harrison adjusted his platinum cufflinks, his hands trembling with anticipation that had been building for months. The mahogany-paneled office of Harrison Industries, situated on the 43rd floor of the prestigious Chrysler Building, buzzed with congratulatory voices from his executive team, but his mind was elsewhere entirely. 26 floors below, the bustling streets of Manhattan seemed insignificant compared to the miracle happening at Mount Sinai Hospital on the Upper East Side. "Mr. Harrison," his assistant Monica Chen rushed in, her designer heels clicking against the Italian marble floor that had cost more than most people's annual salaries. Her usually composed demeanor was flustered with excitement. "The hospital just called. Mrs. Harrison is in active labor. Dr. Foster says it's time." William's heart hammered against his ribs as he grabbed his custom-tailored Armani coat from the mahogany coat rack. The quarterly reports worth millions of dollars scattered across his massive oak desk, suddenly as meaningless as yesterday's newspaper. After 3 grueling years of fertility treatments, countless consultations with the world's leading specialists, experimental procedures that had cost a fortune, and prayers whispered in the darkness of sleepless nights when Victoria cried herself to sleep, their dream was finally materializing into reality. The private elevator seemed to crawl as it descended through the floors of his corporate empire, each second stretching into an eternity of anticipation. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, he watched the city blur past. Yellow taxis weaving through traffic, pedestrians hurrying along sidewalks, street vendors calling out their wares. All of it felt surreal, as if he were watching life through a movie screen while his real existence was about to begin in a hospital delivery room. His driver James was already waiting with the midnight black Bentley, engine purring softly. "Congratulations, sir," James said with a warm smile that reached his weathered eyes. "I've been driving you for 8 years and I've never seen you this excited." "Thank you, James. I can hardly believe it's finally happening." The 20-minute drive through Manhattan's crowded streets felt like hours. William's mind raced with visions of the future, teaching his daughter to ride a bicycle in Central Park, helping her with homework at the massive dining table in their penthouse, walking her down the aisle at her wedding someday. He'd already started a trust fund worth $50 million, ensuring she'd never want for anything. Mount Sinai Hospital's maternity ward was a symphony of controlled chaos. Nurses moved efficiently through corridors that smelled of antiseptic and new beginnings, their soft-soled shoes squeaking against the polished linoleum floors. The waiting room was filled with expectant fathers, some pacing nervously, others sitting quietly with their heads in their hands, all united by the universal experience of impending parenthood. William checked his Rolex Submariner watch for the 100th time. Victoria had been in labor for 6 hours now, and each minute felt like a lifetime. He'd called his parents in Connecticut, who were driving down despite the late hour. Victoria's sister Sarah was flying in from Chicago. This baby would be surrounded by love from the moment she drew her first breath. "Mr. Harrison?" "Doctor." Margaret Foster appeared in the doorway like an angel of mercy, her surgical scrubs wrinkled from hours of work, exhaustion evident in her kind brown eyes, but her smile was radiant. "Congratulations. You have a beautiful, perfectly healthy daughter." The word struck him like lightning splitting the night sky. A daughter. His little princess. William's vision blurred as tears he hadn't realized he was holding back spilled down his cheeks, years of hope and longing finally finding release. "And Victoria? Is my wife okay?" "She's absolutely wonderful. Tired, naturally. But she's asking for you. Would you like to meet your daughter first?" Walking down the corridor toward the nursery felt like floating. Other new fathers peered through the large viewing window, pointing out their newborns to visiting family members, their faces glowing with pride and wonder. But when Dr. Foster guided him to the observation window and pointed to the 3rd crib from the left, William's entire world stopped spinning on its axis. There she was, his daughter, pink and absolutely perfect, with the tiniest fingers he'd ever seen. each one perfectly formed, wrapped in a soft yellow blanket that had been donated by the hospital auxiliary. Her face was peaceful in sleep, her miniature chest rising and falling with steady, healthy breaths. "She's magnificent," he whispered, pressing his palm against the cool glass, wishing he could reach through and touch her perfect little hand. "She's absolutely magnificent. When can I hold her?" "The nurses are just finishing her initial health checks. About 20 minutes, and then you can spend all the time you want with her." William stood transfixed, memorizing every detail of his daughter's face. She had dark hair that curled slightly at the edges, and when she briefly opened her eyes, he could swear she looked directly at him through the glass. In that moment, he made a silent promise that he would move heaven and earth to give her the best life possible. Meanwhile, in the nursery itself, night shift nurse Patricia Williams moved with the quiet efficiency that came from 20 years of caring for newborns. But tonight was different from any other in her long career. Tonight, she carried a burden that made her hands shake as she approached the crib marked Harrison Baby Girl. Patricia had worked at Mount Sinai since graduating nursing school, starting as an idealistic young woman who believed in healing and helping others. But life had been cruel to her. Her husband had left her for a younger woman 5 years ago, taking half their savings and leaving her with crushing debt. Her mother's medical bills from a prolonged battle with cancer had consumed her remaining resources. And then had come the gambling. First just lottery tickets, then casino visits, then online poker games that ran deep into the night. The debts had mounted like snow in an avalanche. Loan sharks didn't care that she was a dedicated nurse who had never hurt anyone. They only cared about the $47,000 she owed them, money she could never repay on her salary. The threats had escalated from phone calls to visits to her apartment, and last week they'd made it clear that her time was up. That's when the offer had come. $50,000 in cash for one simple act. All she had to do was switch 2 baby girls born on the same night. The person making the offer had known details about the hospital, about the babies, about the families involved. They'd known things that made Patricia realize this wasn't a random request. The second crib held another newborn girl, born just 3 hours after the Harrison baby to Maria Santos, a 19-year-old who'd been abandoned by her boyfriend the moment he learned about the pregnancy. Maria had been in and out of the emergency room throughout her pregnancy, struggling with malnutrition and stress. She'd already signed adoption papers, desperate to give her baby a better life than she could provide. Patricia glanced around the dimly lit nursery one final time, ensuring she was completely alone. Security cameras didn't cover this particular angle. She'd checked and rechecked. The other nurses were busy with deliveries on the far side of the ward. "I'm so sorry, little ones," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the soft hum of the monitoring equipment and the gentle whoosh of the air circulation system. "But this is the only way I survive. May God forgive what I'm about to do." With practiced efficiency that betrayed the absolute horror of her actions, Patricia carefully lifted both babies. Her nursing training made the transfer seamless, supporting their delicate necks, ensuring their airways remained clear, moving them with the gentle confidence that came from handling thousands of newborns. The Harrison infant, with her cherubic face and steady breathing, was placed gently in the Santos crib. Her little fist curled around Patricia's finger for a moment, as if sensing something was wrong. The Santos baby, equally beautiful but destined for a dramatically different fate, found herself in the Harrison crib, the expensive yellow blanket now wrapping a different child entirely. The hospital identification bracelets were switched with surgical precision. Patricia had practiced this moment dozens of times, timing herself, ensuring she could make the change in under 60 seconds. Birth certificates would be altered in the morning when she returned to complete the second phase of her plan. The computer records would show a simple clerical error, easily explained, quickly corrected, permanently buried in the hospital's vast database. "Sleep tight, my precious angels," she murmured, completing the exchange that would alter the trajectories of 2 families forever. "May your lives be filled with more kindness than mine has been." The next morning brought autumn sunshine streaming through the hospital windows, and the joyous sounds of new life echoing through the maternity ward. William stood beside Victoria's bed, their daughter cradled in his wife's arms. Victoria looked radiant despite her exhaustion, her blonde hair slightly mussed but her green eyes shining with maternal bliss. The baby's dark hair caught the morning light, creating an almost ethereal glow around her peaceful face. Her tiny fingers wrapped around William's index finger with surprising strength, and her peaceful expression filled them both with indescribable love and protectiveness. "What should we name her?" Victoria asked, her voice soft with exhaustion and wonder, already completely smitten with the tiny person in her arms. "Charlotte," William replied without hesitation, the name coming to him as naturally as breathing. "Charlotte Harrison, our little princess." Victoria smiled, testing the name silently on her lips. "Charlotte Harrison. It's perfect. Strong and elegant, just like she'll be." As they signed the birth certificate and prepared to take their daughter home, neither parent noticed Patricia Williams watching from the doorway, her face pale with the weight of her secret and the $47,000 in cash hidden in her apartment. In 24 hours, she would disappear from Mount Sinai Hospital forever, leaving behind only expertly forged documentation and two families whose destinies had been forever altered by her desperate choice. Her resignation letter would cite family illness and a need to relocate immediately. No one would question the departure of a veteran nurse with an exemplary record. The money would pay off her debts and buy her a fresh start in another state, under another name if necessary. Meanwhile, 3 miles away in a cramped studio apartment in Queens, Maria Santos struggled to understand why the adoption agency had insisted she take the baby home for a few days of bonding before the final transfer. The infant they'd placed in her arms looked nothing like what she'd expected. The facial features seemed different, more refined somehow, but exhaustion and the emotional trauma of giving birth clouded her judgment. "She's beautiful," the social worker had assured her with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "And the adoptive family is wonderful. They'll give her everything you can't provide: private schools, music lessons, a beautiful home, financial security. You're doing the most loving thing a mother can do." But as Maria held the baby in her tiny apartment, something felt wrong. The adoption paperwork seemed rushed, incomplete. Questions she asked were deflected with vague answers about expedited procedures and special circumstances. When she tried to call the agency for clarification, she was told the caseworker was unavailable and would call her back. The callback never came. 6 years would pass before the truth began to unravel, initiated by a desperate phone call that would shake the Harrison family to its very foundation and reveal a conspiracy that went deeper than anyone could imagine. But for now, William Harrison drove his Bentley through Central Park, the autumn leaves creating a canopy of gold and crimson above them, his heart overflowing with love for the daughter sleeping peacefully in the car seat beside Victoria. Their penthouse awaited, decorated in soft pink and gold with a nursery that had cost more than most people's annual salaries and contained every luxury a baby could need. "Welcome home, Charlotte," he whispered as they pulled into their private parking garage beneath their exclusive building. "Daddy's gonna give you the world and then some." Little did he know that his real daughter was just beginning a journey that would test every fiber of his being, challenge every assumption he held about family and love, and ultimately teach him that the strongest bonds aren't always those of blood, but those forged in moments of pure need answered with pure love. The conspiracy that had stolen his biological daughter and placed her in poverty while he raised another child in luxury was far more complex than a desperate nurse's gambling debts. The truth, when it finally emerged, would reveal connections to his own business empire and threaten everything he'd built. But that revelation lay 6 years in the future, waiting for a small voice on a telephone to set the wheels of justice and love into unstoppable motion. 6 years later, William Harrison stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office on the 43rd floor of Harrison Industries, watching the sun set over Manhattan's glittering skyline like scattered diamonds on black velvet. The city sprawled endlessly before him, each twinkling light representing dreams, ambitions, and lives intertwined in the endless dance of urban existence. His financial empire had grown exponentially since Charlotte's birth, making him one of the most powerful and influential men in New York, with business interests spanning real estate, technology, and international finance. The Harrison name now graced the sides of buildings, appeared in Forbes magazine regularly, and opened doors to exclusive social circles where million-dollar charitable donations were discussed as casually as weekend plans. His personal net worth had climbed to nearly $800 million, a fortune that seemed to grow almost effortlessly through wise investments and strategic business decisions. "Daddy!" Charlotte's melodious voice rang through the mahogany doors as she burst into his office like a ray of sunshine, her private school uniform from the prestigious St. Catherine's Academy slightly wrinkled from a day of learning and play. At 6 years old, she possessed an almost otherworldly elegance, her movements graceful and fluid, her vocabulary remarkably advanced for her age. The expensive education was clearly paying dividends. "Princess!" William swept her into his arms, spinning her around as she giggled with pure delight, her laughter echoing off the leather-bound books and crystal awards that lined his office walls. "How was school today? Did you learn anything fascinating?" "Magnificent," she replied, using one of his favorite words with perfect enunciation. "Mrs. Patterson says I'm reading at a 4th grade level already. And look what I painted for you in art class." She presented a watercolor painting of their family, 3 figures standing in front of what was unmistakably their penthouse terrace with Central Park visible in the background. The artistic skill was truly impressive for her age, each brushstroke deliberate and purposeful, showing an eye for composition and color that suggested genuine artistic talent. "It's absolutely beautiful, sweetheart. We'll have it professionally framed and hang it right here behind my desk where everyone can see it." Charlotte beamed with pride, her dark eyes sparkling with intelligence and joy. She was everything he dreamed his daughter would be: brilliant, creative, confident, and kind. Teachers constantly praised her exceptional abilities, and other parents often asked Victoria for parenting advice, assuming their perfect daughter was the result of superior child-rearing techniques. Victoria appeared in the doorway, her designer dress impeccable despite a full day of charity luncheons and board meetings for the various philanthropic organizations she supported. At 38, she remained strikingly beautiful, her blonde hair styled in an elegant chignon, her jewelry subtle but clearly expensive. She'd thrown herself into charitable work with the same passion she brought to everything else, particularly causes involving children's education and welfare. "Time for dinner, you two. Chef Marcus has prepared Charlotte's favorite, lobster ravioli with truffle cream sauce." As they walked toward the private elevator that led directly to their penthouse, William reflected on how absolutely perfect their life seemed. Charlotte excelled at everything she attempted: piano lessons with a former Juilliard professor, ballet with instructors from the American Ballet Theater, French and Spanish tutoring with native speakers, advanced mathematics with a professor from Columbia University. Their social circle constantly marveled at her poise and intelligence. "She's going to change the world someday," Victoria often said during their dinner parties, and William believed it completely. Charlotte had the intelligence, the resources, and the moral foundation to make a real difference in people's lives. The elevator whisked them silently to their home 43 floors above the city. The penthouse, worth $28 million, overlooked Central Park with panoramic views that never failed to take visitors' breath away. Crystal chandeliers imported from Venice cast warm light over marble floors that had been quarried in Italy specifically for their home. Original artwork by Monet, Picasso, and contemporary masters adorned walls that had witnessed countless elegant dinner parties attended by politicians, celebrities, and titans of industry. The dining room table, hand-carved from a single piece of mahogany, could seat 12 but felt intimate and cozy, with just the 3 of them gathered around one end. Tall windows revealed the park's autumn foliage, painted in brilliant oranges and golds by the setting sun. "Daddy, can we have a tea party after dinner?" Charlotte asked as she carefully cut her ravioli into perfect bite-sized pieces, her table manners impeccable for a 6-year-old. "We could use the Royal Copenhagen china set that grandmother gave me." "Of course, Princess. We'll set it up in the conservatory where we can watch the stars come out." Their conversation was interrupted by the soft chime of William's personal cell phone. He glanced at the caller ID display, unknown number from a Queens area code. He almost declined the call, as he typically did with unknown numbers, but something inexplicable made him answer. "Harrison Residence." Silence stretched for several long seconds, broken only by the soft sounds of traffic far below and the gentle clink of silverware against china. Then a small, trembling voice spoke words that would fundamentally alter the trajectory of his entire existence. Daddy? Is this my daddy? William's sterling silver fork clattered against his hand-painted Limoges plate, the sound unnaturally loud in the sudden stillness. The voice was tiny, desperate, and unmistakably that of a young child, a little girl who sounded approximately the same age as Charlotte. I'm sorry, little one, I think you may have dialed the wrong number. Please don't hang up. The voice cracked with tears and exhaustion. I found this number written in Mama's old phone book. She told me if something really bad happened, I should call my daddy. She said his name was William Harrison. Are you William Harrison? His blood turned to ice water in his veins. Victoria's wine glass froze halfway to her lips, her green eyes wide with confusion and growing alarm. Charlotte continued eating her dinner, oblivious to the emotional earthquake beginning to reshape their reality. Who is this, sweetheart? William's voice was barely steady, his successful businessman's composure cracking like thin ice. My name is Lily Santos. I'm 6 years old and I'm really hungry. Mama's been gone for 2 whole days and there's no food left in our apartment. The nice lady downstairs, Mrs. Rodriguez, said maybe you might be my real daddy because Mama always said my daddy was rich and lived in a big house. Victoria's face had gone completely pale, her usually perfect composure shattered. She set down her wine glass with trembling fingers and stared at William with a mixture of confusion and dawning horror. Sweetheart, where are you calling from? William's voice remained calm through sheer force of will, his business training in crisis management automatically taking over. I don't know the exact address, but I can see a big neon sign that says Tony's Pizza from my bedroom window. I live in the apartment building right next to it. The elevator has been broken for months and we live way up on the 4th floor, apartment 4B. There's a crack in the wall that looks like a butterfly. William's mind immediately began calculating. He knew that area of Queens. It was in one of the roughest neighborhoods in the borough, a world away from their privileged existence on the Upper East Side. The contrast between their lives couldn't be more stark. Lily, listen to me very carefully. Are you hurt? Are you safe where you are? I'm not hurt, but I'm really scared. And so hungry my tummy hurts. There's nothing left in the refrigerator except some old milk that smells really bad and makes me feel sick. I've been drinking water from the bathroom sink and eating crackers I found in the back of a cabinet. But those are gone now too. Victoria stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the marble floor with a harsh sound that made Charlotte look up curiously. She whispered urgently to William, "What is this about? Who is this child?" He held up a hand, focusing entirely on the small, frightened voice on the phone. "Lily, I need you to stay exactly where you are and keep your door locked. Can you do that for me?" "Yes, I already locked all the locks like Mama taught me. I'm not supposed to open it for strangers, not even if they say they know Mama." "That's a very good girl, very smart. I'm going to come see you, okay? Come. It might take me a little while because you're far away from where I live. But I promise I'm coming to help you." "Really? You'll really come?" The hope in her voice was heartbreaking, mixed with disbelief that anyone would actually care enough to help her. "Yes, sweetheart, I give you my word, I'm going to come right now." "What did you say your last name was again?" "Santos. Lily Santos. Mama always said I looked just like my daddy, but I never got to meet him. She showed me a picture once from a magazine, but it was old and all torn up. She kept it in her special box under the bed." William's legs nearly gave out beneath him. Santos. The name triggered a distant, nagging memory, something about the hospital 6 years ago, forms he'd signed in the chaos following Charlotte's birth, documents he'd barely read through his tears of joy. "Lily, I need you to stay on the phone with me while I get ready to come see you. Can you do that? Just keep talking to me." "Okay, but sir, if you're really my daddy like Mama said, why didn't you ever come visit me before? Did you forget about me?" The question hit him like a physical blow to the chest. How could he possibly explain something he didn't understand himself? How could he tell this frightened, hungry little girl that he'd never known she existed, that he'd been raising another child believing she was his daughter? "It's very complicated, sweetheart. But I'm coming now, and we're going to figure everything out together. I promise you that." As he grabbed his coat and car keys from the front hall closet, William's mind reeled with possibilities. Was this some kind of elaborate scam? A kidnapping attempt targeting wealthy families? But the innocence in the child's voice, the specific details about her situation, the way she'd known his full name, none of it felt manufactured or rehearsed. "Victoria, I have to go," he said, kissing his wife's forehead with trembling lips. "I don't know what this is about, but I cannot ignore a child who says she's hungry and alone. William, this could be extremely dangerous. You don't know anything about this child or this situation. What if it's a trap? What if someone is using a child to lure you into danger? I know that a little girl is alone and hungry, calling someone she believes is her father. I can't turn my back on that, no matter what the explanation turns out to be." Charlotte looked up from her dessert of chocolate mousse topped with fresh berries, finally sensing the tension and urgency that had filled the room. "Daddy, where are you going? You promised we'd have our tea party with the pretty china." His heart clenched painfully as he knelt beside her chair, struggling to maintain his composure. "I have to help someone who really needs my help, Princess. We'll have our tea party tomorrow evening, I promise, and we'll make it extra special." "Is someone hurt?" "Someone needs help, yes, but don't worry. Everything will be okay." As the elevator descended through the floors of their building, William's phone remained pressed to his ear. Lily's voice, his only connection to a truth that threatened to unravel everything he thought he knew about his life, his family, and his past. "Daddy? Are you still there?" "I'm still here, sweetheart. And I'm coming to you right now." The drive through Queens felt like traveling through parallel universes, each mile taking William further from everything familiar and comfortable. His midnight black Bentley glided past neighborhoods where luxury gave way to survival, where corner convenience stores with bulletproof glass replaced designer boutiques, and where hope seemed as scarce as the working streetlights that cast irregular pools of yellow light on cracked sidewalks. The GPS navigation system guided him deeper into an area he'd only seen in news reports about urban poverty and crime statistics presented at charity board meetings. Now, seeing it firsthand through his windshield, the statistics became human faces. People bundled against the October evening chill, teenagers gathered on street corners, elderly residents peering cautiously through apartment windows. "Lily, are you still there?" he asked, his phone connected to the car's premium sound system. "Yes, Daddy. I'm sitting by the window watching for you. What kind of car do you drive? Is it fancy like Mama said?" "It's black and very shiny. Very fancy, yes. You'll definitely know it when you see it. It'll probably be the only car like it on your street." "Okay. I'm getting really sleepy, but I'll try to stay awake for you. I haven't been sleeping good since Mama didn't come home." The exhaustion and fear in her small voice tugged at something primal and protective in his chest. Whether she was his biological daughter or not, this child desperately needed help, and he had the resources to provide it. "Tell me about yourself, Lily. What kinds of things do you like to do?" "I like to draw pictures, but we don't have many crayons anymore. Sometimes I find pieces of paper in the garbage behind the building and draw on the back if they're not too dirty. I drew a picture of what I think my daddy looks like based on Mama's stories. Want me to describe it?" "Yes, sweetheart. I'd love to hear about it." "He's really tall and has kind eyes that crinkle when he smiles. He wears nice clothes like the important men on TV. And he has a watch that shines in the sunlight. Mama said he was the kindest person she ever met, even though she only knew him for a little while." "Is that what you look like?" William caught his reflection in the rear-view mirror, the expensive Italian suit, the carefully styled hair touched with silver at the temples, the Rolex Submariner that indeed caught light. "I suppose I do wear nice clothes, and I hope I have kind eyes." "I bet you do. Mama said my daddy was really important and lived in a big house with lots of rooms. She said someday, when I was bigger, he'd come find me and we'd be a real family. But she always looked sad when she said it." The building came into view, a 4-story brick structure with fire escapes clinging to its facade like rusted metal skeletons. Several windows were boarded up with plywood, and colorful graffiti decorated the lower walls, some artistic, some merely crude. Tony's Pizza glowed in flickering neon next door, its red and yellow sign casting intermittent light on the cracked sidewalk where weeds pushed through concrete. "I can see Tony's Pizza, Lily. I'm almost there." "I see your car. It's the really shiny black one. Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful it looks like something from a movie. William parked carefully, very aware that his Bentley was attracting curious stares from people on the street. He looked up at the building and saw a small silhouette pressed against a fourth-floor window, waving frantically. His breath caught in his throat at the sight. The building's entrance door hung crooked on rusted hinges, one of the glass panels replaced with cardboard and duct tape. The lobby smelled of stale cigarettes, industrial disinfectant, and something indefinable that spoke of too many people living in too small a space with too few resources. Broken mailboxes lined one wall, most bearing no names at all, their metal doors hanging open like mouths frozen in silent screams. William climbed 4 flights of stairs, each step echoing in the narrow stairwell that was lit by a single fluorescent bulb that flickered intermittently. The walls were painted institutional green, and the handrail was worn smooth by countless hands over decades of use. Apartment 4B had a door painted the same institutional green as the stairwell, with the number 4 hanging slightly askew, secured by only one screw. He could hear the faint sound of a television through the thin walls and smell cooking odors from neighboring apartments. Beans, rice, and spices that spoke of families making the most of limited budgets. He knocked gently, not wanting to startle her. "Daddy?" came the voice from inside, so close now, separated only by a thin wooden door. "It's me, Lily, it's William." The sound of multiple locks being undone, at least 4 different mechanisms, preceded the door opening just a crack, held by a heavy security chain. Through the gap, William saw the most beautiful brown eyes he'd ever encountered, wide with wonder and cautious hope. "You really came?" she whispered as if she couldn't quite believe it. "I told you I would. Can you let me in, sweetheart?" The chain rattled as small fingers worked to release it, and the door swung open to reveal a tiny girl with dark hair that needed combing and clothes that had clearly seen better days. Her jeans had patches on both knees, and her sweater was too large, hanging loose on her small frame. But her face took William's breath away completely. The bone structure, the shape of her eyes, the way she held her head slightly tilted when she looked at him. It was like looking at childhood photographs of himself. Even more striking, she resembled his own father in ways that made his heart skip beats. "Hi, Daddy," she said simply, as if they'd known each other forever instead of speaking for the first time an hour ago. The apartment was sparse but meticulously clean, showing that despite their poverty, Lily and her mother took pride in their home. A small television sat on a plastic crate, and 2 mismatched lawn chairs served as the living room furniture. Through an open doorway, William could see a tiny kitchen with a refrigerator that hummed loudly and occasionally shuddered. "Are you hungry, sweetheart?" he asked, kneeling to her level so they could speak eye to eye. "Very hungry. I ate the last crackers yesterday morning, and my tummy has been making noises ever since." William's heart shattered into pieces as he followed her to the kitchen. The refrigerator, when opened, revealed exactly what she'd described: a carton of spoiled milk with an expiration date from a week ago and nothing else. The cabinets held only empty containers, a few mismatched plastic dishes, and 1 box of baking soda. "Lily, where is your mama? When did you last see her?" "She went to work 2 nights ago like always and didn't come back. Sometimes she has to work really late or even overnight, but never this long. Mrs. Rodriguez downstairs said maybe something bad happened to her, but I keep thinking she'll come back soon." "What kind of work does your mama do?" "She cleans big office buildings at night when all the business people go home. She leaves after I go to bed and comes home before I wake up for school. But she didn't come home the last 2 mornings and I got scared." William pulled out his phone and immediately ordered food from Tony's Pizza, enough for several meals, including items a 6-year-old would enjoy. While they waited for the delivery, he sat in one of the lawn chairs and let Lily tell him about her life in her own words. "Mama works really, really hard, but we never have enough money for extras. She cries sometimes when she thinks I'm sleeping, especially when bills come in the mail. She says life wasn't supposed to be this hard, that things went wrong when I was born." "What do you mean by that?" "She said I was supposed to have a different life. A much better life with my real daddy. She said something got mixed up at the hospital when I was born, and that's why I ended up with her instead of where I belonged." William's hands began to tremble uncontrollably. "Something got mixed up at the hospital? Mama said there was a mistake. She said the nurses gave her the wrong baby and my real daddy got a different baby too. She said someday when I was old enough to understand, she'd tell me the whole story. She kept important papers in a special box under her bed. Want me to show you? Before he could answer, Lily disappeared into the bedroom and returned with a shoebox held together with several rubber bands. The box was worn and had been repaired with tape in multiple places. Inside, William found documents that made his knees weak and his vision blur. A birth certificate for Lily Santos, born at Mount Sinai Hospital on the exact same date as Charlotte. Medical records showing complications during delivery. A torn piece of paper with the Mount Sinai Hospital phone number written in Spanish. And buried beneath everything else, a carefully preserved photograph of William Harrison clipped from a business magazine, with El Padre de Lily, Lily's father, written in Spanish on the back. Mama cut this out of a magazine at the doctor's office last year, Lily explained, pointing to the photograph. She said you looked exactly like you did in her memories from when she met you. She said I have your eyes and your smile. The pizza arrived, and William watched with heartbreak as Lily devoured slice after slice with the desperate hunger of someone who hadn't eaten in days. Between bites, she chattered about school, her drawings, her dreams of having a pet cat someday, completely unaware of the earth-shattering implications of what she'd shared. Lily, I need to ask you something very important. Has anyone ever hurt you? Has anyone ever touched you in ways that made you uncomfortable or scared? No, Daddy. Mama always protected me from bad people. She said there were dangerous people in the world, but I should never be afraid because she'd always keep me safe. She taught me to lock all the doors and never open them for strangers. What about other family? Do you have grandparents, uncles or aunts? Mama said we didn't have any family except each other. She said my grandparents died before I was born, and she was all alone in the world until she had me. She said family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about people who choose to love each other. As the evening wore on, William found himself studying every detail of Lily's face, her mannerisms, the way she spoke. The resemblance to his own family was undeniable, but more than physical appearance, something deep in his soul recognized her. She had gestures that reminded him of his father, a way of tilting her head when thinking that he'd seen in old family photographs. Lily, I need to take you somewhere safe tonight. Would you like to come with me? To your big house? First to a nice hotel where you can have a hot bath and sleep in a comfortable bed. Then we'll figure out what comes next. What about Mama? What if she comes home and I'm not here? She'll be scared if she can't find me. William knelt beside her chair, taking her small, cold hands in his much larger ones. Sweetheart, I'm going to help find your Mama. I'm going to hire people whose job it is to find missing persons. But right now, the most important thing is making sure you're safe, warm, and fed. Will you stay with me? I don't want to be alone anymore. I'm not going anywhere. I promise. As they packed Lily's few belongings into 2 grocery bags, everything she owned in the world, William's phone buzzed continuously with increasingly urgent text messages from Victoria. The life he'd known and cherished for 6 years was about to change forever, and questions were forming that would demand answers he wasn't sure he was ready to hear. But looking at this beautiful, brave little girl who'd survived 2 days alone without complaint, who'd called a complete stranger Daddy, with absolute trust and hope, William knew that finding the truth was worth whatever emotional storm was coming. Ready to go, sweetheart? Ready, Daddy. And as they walked down 4 flights of stairs together, Lily's small hand trustingly placed in his, William realized that some bonds transcend biology, circumstance, and time. Some connections are forged in moments of pure need answered with pure love, creating families that exist beyond traditional definitions. The truth about Lily's parentage would come soon enough, along with revelations that would shake his understanding of everyone he trusted. But tonight, all that mattered was ensuring that a little girl who had shown remarkable courage would never again go to bed hungry, scared, or alone while he had breath in his body and resources at his disposal. The Ritz-Carlton suite overlooked Central Park, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view that would have been breathtaking under normal circumstances. But William's attention was entirely focused on the small figure curled up in the oversized armchair, wrapped in a hotel bathrobe that dwarfed her tiny frame. Lily had fallen asleep clutching a stuffed elephant from the hotel gift shop, her face peaceful for the first time since he'd met her. Room service had delivered enough food for a week, sandwiches, fruit, pastries, and hot soup, that Lily had devoured with the methodical determination of someone who'd learned not to waste a single bite. She'd taken her first hot bath in days, emerging from the marble bathroom with clean hair and rosy cheeks, looking more like the child she should have been. William's phone buzzed incessantly on the mahogany desk. Victoria had called 17 times, each voicemail growing more frantic. His parents had been contacted and were driving down from Connecticut. The family attorney was standing by. But William couldn't bring himself to return the calls until he had more answers. At 3 in the morning, he finally connected with Detective Maria Gonzalez from the Missing Persons Unit. Her voice was tired but professional as she took down the details about Maria Santos's disappearance. "Mr. Harrison, I have to ask, what's your relationship to this woman and her daughter?" "I believe." William paused, the words feeling surreal. "I believe Maria Santos may have given birth to my biological daughter 6 years ago, and that there was some kind of mix-up at the hospital." The silence on the other end stretched for several seconds. "That's a very serious allegation, sir. Do you have any evidence to support this claim?" "I have documents. Birth certificates, medical records, photographs. And Detective Gonzalez, when you see this little girl, when you look at her face." His voice broke slightly. "She looks exactly like my family. The resemblance is undeniable. We'll start investigating Maria Santos's disappearance immediately. Her employer at Metropolitan Cleaning Services reported that she failed to show up for her shift 2 nights ago, which was completely out of character. They're concerned as well." After ending the call, William sat in the darkness of the hotel suite, watching Lily sleep and trying to process the magnitude of what was unfolding. If his suspicions were correct, then Charlotte, the daughter he'd loved and raised for 6 years, wasn't biologically his. And this precious child sleeping peacefully in the chair was his real daughter, who'd been living in poverty while he'd unknowingly provided another child with every advantage. The guilt was crushing. While he'd been teaching Charlotte to ride horses at their country estate in the Hamptons, Lily had been learning to ration crackers. While Charlotte attended the finest private school in Manhattan, Lily had been worrying about whether her mother would come home. The injustice of it made his chest ache with a pain he'd never experienced before. His phone rang again, this time displaying Dr. Margaret Foster's name. She was calling from Mount Sinai Hospital, having been contacted by Detective Gonzalez about the investigation. "Mr. Harrison, I understand there are questions about events from 6 years ago. I want you to know that I've reviewed all the records from your daughter's birth and everything appears to be in order. Dr. Foster, I need to ask you about the night shift nurse who was working that evening. Patricia Williams." Another pause. "Patricia Williams left the hospital very suddenly about a week after your daughter was born. She cited a family emergency and relocated out of state. We were sorry to lose her. She was an excellent nurse with an impeccable record. Do you have any way to contact her now?" "I'm afraid not. Her forwarding address was in Arizona, but that was 6 years ago." "Mr. Harrison, may I ask what's prompting these questions?" William explained about Lily's phone call, the documents he'd found, and the striking physical resemblance. Dr. Foster listened without interrupting, her medical training evident in her careful, thoughtful responses. "Mr. Harrison, if you truly believe there was some kind of mix-up, the only way to know for certain would be DNA testing. I can arrange for that to be done quickly and confidentially." Yes, please arrange that immediately. I'll have a technician meet you at the hospital tomorrow morning. We'll need samples from you, from Lily, and ideally from Charlotte as well." The next morning brought autumn sunshine streaming through the hotel windows and Lily's delighted laughter as she discovered room service breakfast. She'd never seen so much food in one place: fresh berries, pancakes, French toast, eggs Benedict, and pastries that looked like works of art. "Daddy, is this really all for me?" she asked, her eyes wide with wonder. "All for you, sweetheart. Eat as much as you want. Can I save some for later, in case I get hungry again?" The question broke his heart. This child had learned to hoard food because she'd never known when her next meal might come. "Lily, you never have to worry about being hungry again. I promise you that. We can order more food anytime you want it." After breakfast, they drove to Mount Sinai Hospital for the DNA testing. Lily was nervous about the needle, so William held her hand throughout the procedure, amazed at her bravery. The technician assured them that results would be available within 24 hours. On the drive back to the hotel, Lily asked the question he'd been dreading. "Daddy, what happens if the test says you're not really my father?" William pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to face her completely. "Lily, listen to me very carefully. No matter what any test says, no matter what we discover about the past, you are not going back to that apartment alone. You are not going to be hungry or scared or unsafe ever again. Do you understand me? But if you're not my real daddy, then I'll be your chosen daddy. Sometimes the most important families are the ones we choose, not the ones we're born into." Tears filled her brown eyes. "Really? Really? I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you." That afternoon, William received a call that changed everything. Detective Gonzalez had found Maria Santos. "Mr. Harrison, I'm afraid I have difficult news." Maria Santos was found unconscious in her apartment building's basement laundry room. She'd fallen down the stairs while carrying a heavy load of laundry and suffered a severe head injury. She's been in a coma at Queens General Hospital for 3 days. Is she going to be okay? The doctors say it's too early to tell, but Mr. Harrison, when we searched her apartment for next of kin information, we found something you need to see. Can you come to the station? An hour later, William sat in Detective Gonzalez's office staring at a stack of documents that painted a picture more complex and heartbreaking than he'd imagined. Maria Santos had kept meticulous records, not just about Lily but about her own investigation into what had happened at the hospital. She knew, Detective Gonzalez explained. She knew almost from the beginning that something was wrong. "Look at these dates." She started asking questions just weeks after bringing Lily home from the hospital. The documents included copies of hospital records Maria had somehow obtained, photographs she'd taken of Lily at various ages, and most damning of all, a recording device containing a phone conversation with someone whose voice was disguised. "We've analyzed the recording. Someone was paying Maria Santos to keep quiet about the baby switch. $50,000 initially, then monthly payments of $2,000 for the past 6 years. William's hands shook as he processed this information. Someone was paying her? Who? That's what we're trying to determine. The payments came from an offshore account that's going to take some time to trace, but Mr. Harrison, there's something else. The recording suggests that whoever orchestrated this knew details about your family, your business, your personal life. This wasn't random. What are you saying? We believe someone specifically targeted your family. Someone who had access to information about your wife's pregnancy, your hospital choice, even your personal schedule. This was an inside job. William's mind raced through possibilities. Who would have known those details? His business associates? Family members? Household staff? The circle of people with access to that level of personal information was actually quite small. Detective, I need to ask, where is Charlotte right now? Your wife is with her at your home. We've stationed officers nearby as a precaution. If someone was willing to go to these lengths 6 years ago, we can't rule out that they might try something now that the truth is coming out. William's phone rang. Victoria's name appeared on the display, and this time he answered. William, thank God. Where are you? I've been terrified. Who is this child? What's happening to our family? Victoria, I need you to listen very carefully. Pack a bag for you and Charlotte. Take her to your sister's house in Connecticut immediately. What? Why? William, you're scaring me. Someone deliberately separated me from my biological daughter and put her in poverty while I raised another child. This wasn't an accident, Victoria. It was planned. And until we know who did this and why, I need you and Charlotte somewhere safe. Your biological daughter? William, what are you saying? I'm saying that Lily is my daughter. I can see it in her face, in her mannerisms, in 1,000 little details. And the DNA test will confirm it tomorrow. But that means Charlotte. Charlotte is still our daughter in every way that matters. She's the child we've loved and raised for 6 years. That doesn't change. But someone stole my biological daughter and put her in that apartment, and they're going to pay for what they've done. Oh my God, William, how is this possible? I don't know yet. but I'm going to find out." After ending the call, William returned to the hotel to find Lily drawing pictures with the art supplies he'd bought her. She'd created a detailed drawing of their morning together, the hotel room, the breakfast, even the hospital visit. "Look, Daddy, I drew us having breakfast, see? That's you, and that's me, and that's all the food. I've never had so much food before." William sat beside her on the plush carpet studying her artwork. The detail was remarkable for a 6-year-old, but more than that, she'd captured emotions in the simple figures: joy, wonder, security. "It's beautiful, Lily. You're very talented. Mama always said I got my artistic ability from my daddy. She said he was creative and smart and would understand my pictures. Tell me more about what your mama said about your daddy." "She said he was the kindest man she ever met, but that circumstances kept him away. She said it wasn't his fault that we couldn't be together. She said someday, when the time was right, we'd find each other." "Did she ever mention anyone else? Anyone who might have helped arrange things so you ended up with her instead of with your father?" Lily's expression grew thoughtful. "There was a lady who came to visit sometimes. Mama called her La Enfermera, the nurse. She always brought money and talked to Mama in whispers. I wasn't supposed to listen, but sometimes I heard them talking about El Plan, the plan." William's blood ran cold. "Do you remember anything else about this nurse?" "She was older, with gray hair, and she always seemed nervous, like she was scared of something. Mama didn't like her visits, but she said we needed the money to survive." "When was the last time you saw her?" "A few months ago. Mama and the nurse had a big argument. The nurse said something was changing, that it wasn't safe anymore. Mama told her she was thinking about telling the truth because it wasn't fair to me or to my real daddy." "And what happened after that?" "The nurse got really angry and said that would be very dangerous for everyone. She said some secrets have to stay buried. After she left, Mama cried for a long time." William felt puzzle pieces clicking into place. Maria Santos had been planning to come forward to tell the truth about what had happened. And someone, possibly Patricia Williams, possibly someone else, had tried to stop her. The timing of Maria's accident suddenly seemed much less coincidental. His phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Stop digging into the past. Some secrets are meant to stay buried. You have more to lose than you realize." William's hands shook as he read the message. Someone was watching, someone knew about his investigation, and they were threatening not just him, but potentially Lily and Charlotte as well. "Lily, sweetie, we're going to take a little trip. Would you like to see the countryside? With you? With me? Just us. We're going to go somewhere very safe and very beautiful while we wait for some important news." As William packed their bags and arranged for transportation to his family's estate in the Hamptons, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. Someone had orchestrated an elaborate plan 6 years ago, and now that the truth was emerging, they were clearly willing to do whatever it took to keep their secrets hidden. But looking at Lily's trusting face, as she carefully packed her few possessions, William knew he would fight anyone and anything to protect her and uncover the truth. This brave little girl had already survived 6 years of poverty and uncertainty. She deserved to know who she really was, and she deserved to have the family she'd always dreamed of. The truth was coming, whether someone wanted it buried or not. The Harrison family estate in the Hamptons sprawled across 40 acres of pristine coastline, its white-columned mansion rising like something from a fairy tale against the backdrop of endless ocean. Lily pressed her face to the window of the black SUV as they drove through the iron gates, her breath fogging the glass in her excitement. "Is this your house, Daddy?" she whispered, her voice filled with awe. "One of them," William replied, watching her reaction. "This is where we come when we want to be away from the city." The estate manager, James Morrison, had prepared the house for their arrival. Fires crackled in multiple fireplaces, fresh flowers adorned every room, and the kitchen was stocked with enough food to feed a small army. Most importantly, the property's sophisticated security system had been activated, and discreet but experienced guards were positioned throughout the grounds. Lily explored the mansion with the wonder of a child discovering magic. She ran her fingers along silk wallpapers, marveled at crystal chandeliers, and gasped when she discovered the library with its floor-to-ceiling shelves and rolling ladder. There are so many books, she exclaimed, spinning in a circle with her arms outstretched. Could I really read any of them? Every single one, sweetheart. Books are meant to be read. That evening, as they sat by the fireplace in the main living room, William received the call he'd been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. Dr. Foster's voice was gentle but clear. Mr. Harrison, the DNA results are conclusive. Lily is definitely your biological daughter. The probability is 97%. William closed his eyes, feeling a mixture of profound relief and devastating sadness. Relief that his instincts had been correct, that this incredible child truly was his daughter. Sadness for the 6 years they'd lost, for the poverty she'd endured, for the complicated situation this created with Charlotte. And Dr. Foster, what about Charlotte? The tests show no biological relationship between you and Charlotte. She is not your biological daughter. The words hit him like a physical blow, even though he'd been expecting them. Charlotte, his princess, his pride and joy, the child he'd loved and nurtured for 6 years, wasn't his biological daughter. Yet the love he felt for her remained unchanged, undiminished by genetics. Dr. Foster, I need to ask you something in confidence. Have you found any trace of Patricia Williams? Actually, Mr. Harrison, that's partly why I'm calling. We tracked down Patricia Williams in Tucson, Arizona. She's been living under an assumed name, but Detective Gonzalez found her. She's been arrested and is being transported back to New York. Did she confess? She did more than confess. She provided a full statement implicating someone else. Someone who paid her to make the switch and who has been orchestrating everything since then. William's heart pounded. Who? Mr. Harrison, I think this conversation needs to happen in person, with Detective Gonzalez present. Can you come back to the city tomorrow? I'll be there. After ending the call, William found Lily curled up in an oversized leather chair looking tiny in the vast room. She was drawing again, this time creating a picture of the mansion with remarkable detail for someone who'd only been there a few hours. Lily, I need to tell you something very important. The doctor called with the results of our tests. She looked up with those beautiful brown eyes that were so remarkably similar to his own. Am I really your daughter? Yes, sweetheart. You are absolutely definitely my daughter. The tests prove it beyond any doubt. Lily's face lit up with a joy so pure it took his breath away. Really, really, truly, really, truly. You are my daughter and I am your father, and nothing will ever change that again. She launched herself from the chair into his arms, and William held her tight, feeling a completion he hadn't even realized he was missing. This was his child, his blood, his family, the bond he'd felt from the moment he heard her voice on the phone was real and biological and unbreakable. Daddy, what happened to the other little girl? The one who lived with you? William chose his words carefully. Her name is Charlotte, and she's still very much my daughter too. She's been part of our family for 6 years, and that doesn't change because of what we've learned. I love her just as much as I always have. Will I get to meet her? Yes, very soon. And I think you two are going to be wonderful sisters. Sisters? Lily's eyes widened. I always wanted a sister. And now you have one. Plus a mother who already loves you very much, even though she hasn't met you yet. That night, William lay awake in the master bedroom, staring at the ceiling and trying to process the magnitude of the deception that had shaped the last 6 years of his life. Someone had deliberately separated him from his biological daughter and given him another child to raise. But why? What was the motive? His phone buzzed with another anonymous text. Bringing the truth to light will destroy more than just your family. Stop now while you still can. This time William didn't hesitate. He forwarded the message to Detective Gonzalez and called the security company to double the guards at the estate. Whoever was behind this was getting desperate, and desperate people made dangerous choices. The next morning he called Victoria to explain the DNA results. Her reaction was a mixture of shock, grief, and confusion. So Charlotte isn't biologically ours? She said, her voice thick with tears. No, but Victoria, listen to me carefully. Charlotte is our daughter in every way that matters. We've loved her, raised her, shaped who she is. DNA doesn't change that. But this other child, Lily, she's your biological daughter? Yes. And Victoria, she's remarkable. She's been through so much, but she's brave and kind and brilliant. When you meet her, you're going to love her too. How do we explain this to Charlotte? How do we tell a 6-year-old that her entire life has been built on a lie? We tell her the truth in age-appropriate ways. We tell her that sometimes families are created in unexpected ways, but that love is what makes a family real. We tell her that she's gained a sister, not lost a father. William, I'm scared. What if Charlotte feels replaced? What if she thinks we love her less now? Then we spend every day for the rest of our lives proving that's not true. Charlotte is our daughter. Lily is our daughter. We have 2 daughters now, and our family just got bigger. When William and Lily returned to the city that afternoon, they went directly to Detective Gonzalez's office. The detective was waiting with a woman in handcuffs, Patricia Williams, looking older and more haggard than in her hospital ID photo from 6 years ago. Mr. Harrison, Detective Gonzalez said, Patricia Williams has confessed to switching the babies, but she claims she was coerced. She says someone threatened her life if she didn't cooperate. Patricia Williams looked up at William with eyes full of shame and regret. Mr. Harrison, I am so sorry. I never wanted to hurt anyone. But they said they would kill me if I didn't do what they asked. Who? William demanded. Who threatened you? Your business partner, Richard Blackwood. He said he needed leverage over you for some kind of business deal. He said having your real daughter in poverty while you raised another child would give him power over you if he ever needed it. William's world tilted on its axis. Richard Blackwood had been his business partner for over a decade, his closest friend, the best man at his wedding. The betrayal cut deeper than anything he'd ever experienced. Richard arranged all of this? He paid me $50,000 to switch the babies. He arranged for Maria Santos to receive monthly payments to keep quiet. He said it was insurance, that he might never need to use the information, but if he did, it would be worth millions to him. And now? Why is he trying to stop the truth from coming out? Patricia Williams looked genuinely puzzled. I don't know. When the detective contacted me, I called the number he gave me 6 years ago to report that people were asking questions, but the number was disconnected. I think maybe he's as scared as the rest of us now. Detective Gonzalez leaned forward. Ms. Williams, we need you to help us contact Richard Blackwood. We have enough evidence to arrest him for conspiracy, kidnapping, extortion, and fraud, but we need to find him first. I don't know where he is. After I called that disconnected number, I tried reaching him through his business, but his assistant said he was out of the country indefinitely. William's phone rang. The caller ID showed Richard Blackwood's name, and for a moment, William's hand shook with rage before he answered. Richard. William, my friend. I hear you've been having some family drama. You son of a bitch, how could you do this to me? To an innocent child? Business is business, William. I needed an insurance policy against your growing power in our partnership. Having your real daughter living in poverty while you unknowingly raised another child seemed like the perfect leverage. You destroyed a little girl's life for business leverage. I gave that child a mother who loved her. Maria Santos took excellent care of your daughter with the money I provided. It was a win-win situation. Where are you, Richard? Somewhere you'll never find me. But William, let me give you some advice. Stop pursuing this. I have contingency plans that could destroy everything you've built. Your business empire, your reputation, your family's safety. All of it could disappear if you push too hard. Are you threatening my family? I'm giving you facts. Walk away now. Keep both girls and live happily ever after. Continue digging and everyone suffers. The line went dead, leaving William staring at his phone with a mixture of rage and fear. Richard Blackwood had been like a brother to him, and that brother had betrayed him in the most fundamental way possible. Detective Gonzalez looked up from her notes. Mr. Harrison, we're going to catch him. He can't hide forever. And in the meantime, we'll make sure your family is protected. As they left the police station, Lily slipped her small hand into William's much larger one. Daddy, are we going to be okay? William looked down at this brave little girl who'd endured so much with such grace and strength. Yes, sweetheart, we're going to be more than okay. We're going to be a family. What about the bad man who hurt us? The police are going to catch him, and even if they don't, he can't hurt us anymore. Because now we have the truth, and the truth makes us stronger than any lie. As they drove through the city toward home, William knew that the hardest part was still ahead. Introducing Lily to Charlotte and Victoria, blending their family, and helping everyone heal from the trauma of deception. But looking at Lily's peaceful face as she dozed in the passenger seat, he also knew that some miracles were worth fighting for. His daughter was coming home. The penthouse felt different when William and Lily stepped off the private elevator together. The familiar luxury that had once seemed so natural now felt almost embarrassing in the presence of this child who'd lived with so little. But Lily's eyes widened with wonder as she took in the marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and floor-to-ceiling windows that offered breathtaking views of Central Park. "Is this really where you live, Daddy?" she whispered, as if speaking too loudly might shatter the dream. "This is our home now, sweetheart, yours and mine." Victoria emerged from the living room, her usual composure replaced by nervous anticipation. She'd changed clothes 3 times that morning, wanting to make the perfect first impression on the daughter she'd never known existed. Behind her, Charlotte peered out shyly, uncertainty written across her young face. The two girls studied each other with the intense curiosity of children meeting for the first time. Despite the dramatic differences in their clothing and bearing, the resemblance between them was striking. Both had dark hair and intelligent eyes. Both carried themselves with an unconscious grace that spoke to good breeding. One inherited, one learned. "Charlotte," William said gently, kneeling beside his daughter, "I'd like you to meet Lily. She's going to be your sister." Charlotte's response was immediate and heartwarming. "Hi, Lily. Do you want to see my room? I have lots of toys we could share." Lily looked to William for permission, received his encouraging nod, and followed Charlotte down the hallway. Their voices soon echoed from Charlotte's bedroom, the universal sound of children discovering friendship. Victoria stood frozen in the entrance hall, tears streaming down her face. "She looks so much like you," she whispered. "How did I not see it before? How did we not know?" William drew his wife into his arms, feeling her trembling with emotion. "Because we trusted people we shouldn't have trusted. Because we believed in the goodness of the world and never imagined someone would deliberately separate a father from his child. She seems so mature for 6 years old. She's had to grow up fast. But Victoria, she's also incredibly sweet and brave and artistic. She's been through hell, but she hasn't let it make her bitter or angry. She's remarkable. What happens now? How do we make this work? We love them both equally. We give Lily everything she's been denied while making sure Charlotte knows she's still our princess. We become the family we were always meant to be." From Charlotte's room came the sound of delighted laughter. Victoria and William found the girls sitting on the floor surrounded by Charlotte's extensive collection of art supplies. Lily was staring in amazement at boxes of crayons in every conceivable color, high-quality colored pencils and sketchbooks with thick, pristine paper. "Look, Daddy," Lily called out excitedly. "Charlotte has enough art supplies for a whole school. She said I could use any of them I want." "That's very generous of you, Charlotte," William said, ruffling his daughter's hair. "Lily draws really good pictures," Charlotte announced. "Show them the one you made of the big house by the ocean." Lily shyly produced her drawing of the Hamptons estate, and Victoria gasped at the detail and artistic maturity it displayed. "Lily, this is absolutely beautiful. You have real talent." "Thank you. Mama always said I got my artistic ability from my daddy." The mention of Maria Santos brought a somber note to the room. Detective Gonzalez had called that morning with an update. Maria was awake but suffering from memory loss due to her head injury. She remembered Lily, but everything surrounding the circumstances of Lily's birth remained a blank. "Girls," Victoria said, settling onto the floor beside them, "would you like to help me plan something special? I thought we could redecorate the guest room to be Lily's very own bedroom." Lily's eyes went wide. "My own bedroom? Really? Really? We'll paint it any color you want, buy new furniture, and make it absolutely perfect for you." Could it be yellow, like sunshine? Yellow it is. Charlotte, would you like to help design your sister's room? Yes, and maybe we could get matching bedspreads so we know we're sisters even when we're sleeping. That afternoon, while the girls worked on art projects together, William and Victoria sat in his study discussing the practical implications of their expanded family. Legal documentation would need to be updated, school arrangements made, and most challenging of all, explanations provided to family and friends. What do we tell people? Victoria asked. How do we explain that we suddenly have another daughter? We tell the truth or as much of it as they need to know. Lily is my biological daughter who was separated from us at birth due to a hospital error. We've been reunited, and we're grateful to have found her. And Richard? When the story comes out about his involvement? William's expression hardened. Richard will face the consequences of what he's done, but that's not our focus right now. Our focus is on building a family and helping both girls adjust to their new reality. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of activity. Lily's bedroom was transformed with remarkable speed. Professional painters worked through the night to achieve the perfect shade of sunshine yellow. Furniture was delivered from the finest children's stores in the city, and a custom mural artist created a garden scene on one wall featuring flowers and butterflies. Meanwhile, Dr. Sarah Chen, a renowned child psychologist, worked with both girls to help them process their unique situation. Charlotte, initially worried that she was being replaced, gradually came to understand that love doesn't diminish when it's shared. It multiplies. "Daddy?" Charlotte asked one evening as they sat together on the terrace overlooking Central Park. "Does it make you sad that I'm not your real daughter?" William gathered her onto his lap, holding her close. "Charlotte, listen to me very carefully. You are absolutely my real daughter. You're the daughter of my heart, the daughter I chose, the daughter I've loved every single day for 6 years. DNA doesn't make a family. Love does. But Lily looks like you, and I don't. That's true. But you laugh like your mother. You have her kindness, and you've taught me more about being a father than I ever thought possible. You're the reason I knew how to love Lily the moment I met her. So I helped you be ready to be her daddy?" "Exactly. You made me a better father, and now Lily gets to benefit from everything you taught me." A week later, Detective Gonzalez called with news that brought both relief and resolution. "Mr. Harrison, we've arrested Richard Blackwood. He was trying to board a private flight to a non-extradition country, but we got him first." "Did he confess?" "He's not talking yet, but we have enough evidence to put him away for a very long time. Patricia Williams's testimony, the financial records, the threats he made to you. It's an airtight case. What about Maria Santos? How is she doing?" "Better. Her memory is slowly returning, and she's asked to see Lily. She wants to make sure her daughter is safe and happy." The reunion between Lily and Maria took place at the hospital under careful supervision. Maria, still weak from her injuries but alert and emotional, held Lily close as tears streamed down both their faces. "Mija," Maria whispered in Spanish, "are you happy? Are they treating you well?" "I'm very happy, Mama. Daddy is wonderful, and I have a sister now, and they bought me a room full of art supplies. But I missed you so much." "I missed you too, baby. But I'm so grateful you're safe and loved." William stood nearby, giving them space while ensuring Lily felt secure. When Maria looked up at him, her eyes held gratitude mixed with a mother's protective concern. "Mr. Harrison," she said in accented but clear English, "thank you for taking care of our daughter. I always knew this day would come, when she would be with her real family. Maria, you saved her life, Aved. You loved her and protected her when I didn't even know she existed. You'll always be part of her story, part of what made her who she is. The man who arranged everything, will he be punished? Yes. He'll never hurt another family the way he hurt ours." "Good. And Charlotte, how is she handling this?" William smiled, thinking of his daughters who had spent the morning teaching each other songs. Charlotte sharing classical pieces from her piano lessons, Lily teaching playground rhymes she'd learned at her public school. "Charlotte is remarkable. She's embraced Lily completely. They're already inseparable." As autumn turned to winter, the Harrison family found their new rhythm. Lily enrolled at St. Catherine's Academy, where her artistic talents flourished under expert instruction. Charlotte delighted in being a big sister, teaching Lily the social intricacies of their privileged world, while learning from Lily's street-smart resilience and creativity. Victoria threw herself into ensuring both girls felt equally loved and valued. She organized art shows for Lily's drawings, continued Charlotte's cultural education, and created family traditions that included both girls' backgrounds and interests. The media attention was intense but brief. The story of the millionaire's daughter living in poverty while he unknowingly raised another child captured public imagination, but the family's privacy was fiercely protected by high-powered attorneys and strategic public relations management. Richard Blackwood's trial became a sensation, revealing the depth of his betrayal and the calculated cruelty of his plan. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison for kidnapping, extortion, conspiracy, and fraud. Patricia Williams, who cooperated fully with prosecutors, received a reduced sentence of 5 years and was required to perform community service in children's hospitals. On Christmas morning, 6 months after that first desperate phone call, the Harrison family gathered around their tree in the penthouse. Lily wore a designer dress that matched Charlotte's, her hair styled by the same stylist who had been caring for Charlotte's appearance since birth. But more importantly, she wore the confidence and security of a child who knew she was loved unconditionally. "Daddy," Lily said as she opened her final present, a professional art easel with a full set of oil paints. "I have something for you." She produced a painting she'd been working on secretly for weeks. It showed their family of 4 standing together in Central Park. But in the background, painted with incredible detail for a 6-year-old, was a small figure watching from the shadows, Maria Santos, forever part of their story. "It's us," Lily explained. "But I wanted Mama to be in the picture too because she helped make me who I am before you found me." William's eyes filled with tears as he hung the painting in the place of honor above the living room fireplace. "It's perfect, sweetheart. Absolutely perfect." As the family settled in for Christmas dinner, Charlotte raised her juice glass in a toast. "To our family," she said, with the solemnity of a child who understood that love comes in many forms. "All of us together." "To our family," they echoed. And in that moment, William realized that Richard Blackwood's cruel plan had ultimately backfired. Instead of creating leverage for destruction, he had inadvertently brought together a family that was stronger, more compassionate, and more grateful for love than they ever would have been otherwise. Lily was home. Charlotte had a sister. Victoria had 2 daughters to love and guide. And William had learned that the bonds of family extend far beyond biology, to encompass choice, commitment, and the daily decision to love without reservation. Some stories begin with loss and betrayal, but they end with the triumph of love over deception, of family over isolation, of hope over despair. The Harrison family had found their happy ending, not because everything had been perfect, but because they had chosen to make it perfect through love, forgiveness, and an unwavering commitment to each other. Outside the penthouse windows, snow began to fall over Central Park, blanketing the city in pristine white. Inside, 2 little girls played with their Christmas presents while their parents watched with hearts full of gratitude for the complex, beautiful, perfectly imperfect family they had become. Love, William reflected, truly does find a way.